Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US to set up temporary port on Gaza coast for aid delivery. Meanwhile, UN warns that a quarter of the population is on the brink of a famine. US President Joe Biden to give his State of the Union address in a short while from now. A high-stakes moment as he looks to convince voters to give him a second term at the White House. Terror strikes in northeast Nigeria as suspected insurgents abduct dozens of pupils from school, the biggest abduction targeting a school since 2021. World celebrates International Women's Day, a day to celebrate the achievements of women in every field. This year's theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, aims at tackling economic disempowerment. US will construct a port in Gaza to get more humanitarian aid into the territory by sea. The temporary port will increase the amount of humanitarian assistance to Palestinians by hundreds of additional truckloads per day. Senior administration officials said Biden will make the announcement during his State of the Union speech. However, it will not include US troops on the ground in Gaza, he said. Meanwhile, after the US announced plans to build a seaport, United Nations said international focus should be on the large-scale distribution and entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza by land. But anyway, to deliver more aid is obviously good. United Nations has also warned that at least 576,000 people in Gaza are on the brink of famine. Ahead of the US elections, President Joe Biden will deliver his State of the Union address to promote his agenda for a second term. The president will probably use his address to hammer Republican frontrunner and former US President Donald Trump, warning voters that he would be a dangerous option. Biden's address will come after Super Tuesday that saw Trump emerging as the final significant contender for the GOP candidacy for the November 2024 election. Several polls have indicated that the race between Biden and Trump will be very close. Biden is likely to push Congress to support the Senate border security deal and restore protection for reproductive rights. Former US President Donald Trump is aiming to seize control of the Republican National Committee later on Friday in a vote that is expected to approve his nominees, including his daughter-in-law. It comes as the former president tries to fund his presidential re-election campaign and pay for his mounting legal fee. Nick Harper gets us more from Washington.
The Republican National Committee leadership vote in Houston, Texas, is expected to further reinforce Donald Trump's dominance on the party. He'll tighten his grip with his two hand-picked nominees expected to easily clear the vote to become the two co-chairs. The top jobs in the party apparatus would go to North Carolina's party chair Michael Whatley and his daughter-in-law Lara Trump, with campaign advisor Chris LaCivitia destined to become the RNC's chief operating officer. What's still unclear, though, is whether Trump will compel the party to pay for his mounting legal fees. A resolution banning the party from paying Trump's tab has already failed to garner enough support. His former rival, Nikki Haley, who was competing with Trump for the Republican Party nomination before dropping out this week, has warned the RNC is going to become Trump's legal slush fund. His campaign has so far spent tens of millions of dollars on legal fees to defend the former president in civil cases and his upcoming 4 criminal trials. And he's already been ordered to pay more than $83 million in a defamation case and more than $453 million in his business fraud case. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
A UK-owned ship attacked by Houthi militants last month, sinking in the Red Sea. Belize-registered Rubima is the first vessel lost since the Houthis began targeting commercial ships in November. Now, those drone and missile assaults have forced shipping firms to divert ships to the longer route around southern Africa, disrupting global trade by delaying deliveries and sending costs higher. The U.S. military previously said the February 18th military attack had significantly damaged the bulk vessel and caused an 18-mile oil slick. Israelis marked 5 months since festival's attack, 5 months since Hamas rampaged through a rave festival, killing and kidnapping revelers. Families visited the site in Reim to remember the slain and the hostages and lit candles to pay tribute to them on one of the killing fields of a devastating Hamas attack on October 7th that sparked a war in Gaza. Terror strikes northeast Nigeria as gunmen kidnap dozens of pupils in northern Nigeria on Thursday. Residents and parents of the missing children said in what would be the biggest abduction targeting a school since 2021. Police in Kaduna State did not immediately comment on the abductions, which happened shortly after morning assembly at the local government education authority school in the town of Kuriga. Parents said that on arrival at the school, the gunmen started shooting sporadically before abducting dozens of pupils and disappearing into the bush. Updates from Russia-Ukraine crisis now. Russian attacks on Thursday killed 2 people in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region and 1 person further west in Chernihiv region, the local official said. Oleh Syniubov, governor of Kharkiv region, said an attack by multiple rocket launchers killed 2 civilians in Kupiansk, an area recaptured by Ukrainian forces in late 2022, but where Russian forces are now active. In Chernihiv region, north of Kyiv, mortar fire killed 1 person, regional governor said. The UN Nuclear Watchdog's Board of Governors voted on Thursday to demand Russia withdraw from Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in a resolution passed days after the two-year anniversary of the plant's capture by the Russian troops. It was the board's 4th resolution condemning Russia's actions against Ukrainian nuclear facilities. The board called for urgent withdrawal of all unauthorized military and other unauthorized personnel from Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and for the plant to be immediately returned to full control of the competent Ukrainian authorities. The board also reiterated its grave concern that the Russian Federation has not heeded to the previous calls to withdraw its military and other personnel from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. All 6 of its reactors are shut down, but it still needs constant power to keep fuel in those reactors cool and prevent a potentially catastrophic meltdown. The IAEA, which has a small number of staff at Zaporizhzhia, says safety there remains precarious. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly address on Thursday that he had approved the candidacy of former Army Chief Valery Zaluzhny as ambassador to Britain. Zaluzhny was replaced last month by Ground Forces Commander Alexander Syrsky. Also in his address, Zelensky said that conscripts of who were called up for military service before the war will be sent to the reserves. On Thursday, Zelensky also met British Defence Secretary Grant Shapps in Kyiv and said that he had expressed gratitude for Britain's tangible leadership in providing support for Ukraine and working together to counter Russian attacks. Zelensky said priority areas of cooperation were boosting air defense, long-range weapons and artillery, and joint production of weapons and bringing Russia to account.
I expressed gratitude for Britain's tangible leadership in providing security support to Ukraine, strengthening our defense and collaborating globally to defend against Russian aggression. Today we discussed our further cooperation. We have already reached a historical, unprecedented level of cooperation with Britain. By the way, it was with Britain that we signed the first bilateral security guarantees agreement. We must fully implement it for the sake of our collective strength.
Friday marks a historic day for the French. Abortion rights will be officially enshrined in the country's constitution, a world's first. It comes after lawmakers voted overwhelmingly in favor of the amendment earlier this week. Tony Waterman has more from Paris.
The ceremony is happening here at Place Vendôme, which is one of Paris's 5 royal squares. And French President Emmanuel Macron is overseeing what is known as a sealing ceremony. This is a tradition reserved for only the most significant laws. And with this ceremony, access to abortion care will become a guaranteed freedom enshrined in the French Constitution. And of course, this is all happening on a very symbolic day. Friday is International Women's Day, and Macron very much wants this to represent his party's protection of women's rights. But critics have argued that this amendment isn't needed, that abortion access in France is not under threat, and that this is all political pandering by Macron's party ahead of June's EU elections, where the far right is expected to gain seats. Abortion has been legal here in France since 1975, and unlike the United States, there's never really been a major push to change that. But many people got spooked after a conservative U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, leaving tens of millions of women with little or no access to abortion care. The decision to amend the Constitution has really been cheered across the country, where roughly 90% of the population is in favor of this move. France now becomes the first country in the world to explicitly protect abortion access in its foundational document, with many here hoping that it will pave the way for other countries to follow suit. Tony Waterman in Paris, France, reporting for DD India.
Panama has officially ratified the International Solar Alliance, marking its entry as the 97th member nation. Panama's commitment to sustainable energy was underscored as Ambassador Yaziel Birrello presented the instrument of ratification to Joint Secretary Economic Diplomacy Abhishek Singh during a meeting in New Delhi on Thursday. This formal act solidifies Panama's pledge to collaborate within the framework of the ISA, joining other nations in the pursuit of harnessing solar energy for a greener future. Moreover, on March 5th, Malta became the 119th country to join the ISA. The alliance was conceived as a joint effort by India and France. Currently, 118 countries are signatories to the framework agreement. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. Germany faced strikes on several fronts as train drivers and airport workers walked off the jobs, causing chaos for millions of travelers and adding to the country's economic woes at a time of looming recession. At least 1,750 planned flights got cancelled on Thursday. Authorities warned that strikes were a factor that would lead to a higher than expected operating loss in the first 3 months of 2024. A United Airlines flight heading for Japan loses a tire mid-air following a takeoff from San Francisco. The flight landed safely at Los Angeles International Airport. United Airlines said it is arranging for a new aircraft to continue the trip for the 249 people who were on board the jet. An unusual number of common guillemots, a seabird cousin to penguins, have been found on the French Atlantic shores. Over 500 birds have been found dead along the French Atlantic coast since the start of the year. Sea shepherd volunteers who patrol the beaches say the number of dead seabirds is unprecedented. Celebrities will be bringing along some of their best friends to the red carpet at the Oscars, that is diamonds, adding an extra sparkle to the movie industry's biggest night. Reynolds anticipates an even grander display of diamonds at this year's Oscars. Gold and silver hardware, indeed, will be used to make a statement on the red carpets this year. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister to present National Creators Award, a launchpad for using creativity to drive positive change. Indian cricket team will look to dominate on day 2 of the 5th test against England at Dharamshala. Incredible celebration and a surreal experience of Mahashivratri across the globe today.
Proudly presented presenting women trailblazers of India. Out-of-the-world achievements with many firsts to their credit, scripting history, breaking barriers and challenging stereotypes. Nothing in the world can limit women's ambitions and aspirations. Celebrating and saluting their laurels on International Women's Day, extraordinary women and their extraordinary stories. Watch special broadcast, She Breaking the Glass Ceiling, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar co-chairs the 16th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue with Japanese Foreign Minister Kamikawa Yoko in Tokyo. The Indian minister said that India sees Japan as a natural partner in its journey of development and transformation. He also recalled year 2023 as a landmark year in India-Japan bilateral relationship. During the meeting, India and Japan also concurred on the need to work together to enhance each other's economic stability and supply chain resilience by taking a strategic view of trade and technology. The Indian minister is on a visit to Japan from 6 to 8 of March. Before this, he visited South Korea, where he met the top leaders during his stay. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be presenting first ever National Creators Award at Bharat Mandapam in the national capital today. The National Creators Award is an effort to recognize excellence and impact across domains, including storytelling, social change advocacy, environmental sustainability, education, gaming, among others. The award is envisioned as a launchpad for using creativity to use positive change. The award has witnessed immense public engagement. More than 1.5 lakh nominations and around 10 lakh votes were cast. The award will be provided across 20 categories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday addressed the Republic Bharat Conclave in New Delhi. The Prime Minister spoke on Bharat, the next decade. He said that this decade is the most important decade in India after country's independence. Prime Minister expressed hope that India will emerge as world's third largest economy in this decade itself. He also said that at a time when the world is passing through uncertainty and instability, India has emerged as a ray of trust for the world.
ये समय वैश्विक अनिश्चितताओं और अस्थिरता का समय है और एक्सपर्ट्स कह रहे हैं कि सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद ये सबसे अधिक अस्थिर समय अनुभव हो रहा है। उसकी तीव्रता भी और उसका स्प्रेड भी। पूरी दुनिया में कई सरकारों को सत्ता विरोधी लहर का सामना करना पड़ रहा है, लेकिन इन सब के बीच भारत एक सशक्त लोकतंत्र के रूप में विश्वास की किरण बना हुआ है। मैं आशा की किरण नहीं कह रहा हूं, मैं विश्वास की किरण बहुत जिम्मेवारी के साथ बोल रहा हूं। और ये स्थितियां तब है जब हमने देश में बहुत सारे रिफॉर्म्स भी किए हैं। भारत ने ये साबित किया है कि गुड इकोनॉमिक्स के साथ ही गुड पॉलिटिक्स भी हो सकती है।
U.S. Coast Guard ship Berthoff arrived at Port Blair on Thursday for the joint exercise Sea Defenders 2024 with Indian Coast Guard. The exercise will focus on aspects of maritime security and safety, especially counter-drone attacks, drug interdiction and other contemporary transnational organized crimes. It is scheduled to take place on 9th and 10th of March. International Women's Day is observed every year on 8th of March, a day to celebrate the achievements of women in every field. To mark this year's International Women's Day, DD India brings you stories dedicated to women power. Take a look. A 29-year-old New Yorker Cole Brower has achieved an extraordinary feat of becoming the first woman in the United States to sail solo and non-stop across the globe, kickstarting her global solo challenge from northwest Spain on 29th of October last year. She participated alongside 19 sailors, with only 7 continuing the sail after some withdrawals. Brower, the youngest contestant to participate in the challenge, sailed into the Southern Ocean and off the west coast of Africa. She worked out on the yacht and shared her experiences at sea on her social media. Indian women in the armed forces also play a major role in the security of the nation. A woman leader in the armed forces, DGMS Insurgent Vice Admiral Aarti Sareen, emphasizes on the emerging role of women in military services and how Nari Shakti is a core part of the government initiatives.
Have served the armed forces, medical services and the Indian Navy over these 37 years. The challenges would be what every woman faces probably in, wearing multiple hats in running a family, spending your time between your career which you so love and the child you so love and your family that you so love. So the role of women in the armed forces has been emerging over the years. We, as members of the Army Medical Corps, have been in it from the 1953. We had our first Major General in 1987. So the armed forces has definitely moved from a male-dominated forte to a gender-neutral one. The mindset was very, very positive. There was no evidence of male domination except in numbers. And this will be a very, very good form of inclusivity and empowering women. The government has started several initiatives towards the education of the girl child. There are several schemes available for them. They are looking after education, they are looking after maternal and child health so that they can grow up into educated individuals on a level playing field. In the Indian Navy itself, we have now got 2,000 women. Indian Navy has inducted 1,019 Agniveers and has about 730 women officers. So this is the way the number of officers who have been inducted and the number of Agniveers who have been inducted has shown a meteoric rise in the last few years. They are working shoulder to shoulder with their male colleagues and they're doing a very good job of it so far. I'm extremely proud and privileged to be serving under the President of India, the Supreme Commander, who is also a woman and leading by example.
On to sports now. The Indian cricket team will look to dominate on day 2nd of the 5th test against England in Dharamshala. Earlier on day 1, India finished the match against England on a high, displaying a brilliant bowling from India's Kuldeep Yadav and R. Ashwin masterclass that saw India bowl out England to a paltry total of 218 runs at Dharamshala. Kuldeep Yadav took his 4th 5-wicket haul, giving away 72 runs. Together with R. Ashwin, who took 4 for 51, the duo shared 9 wickets between them, with Ravindra Jadeja chipping away with 1. In the second session, England lost 6 wickets in the session for 94 runs. At one stage, they were cruising at 137 for 2, but lost the next 8 wickets for just 81 runs. For India, the 50s by openers Rohit Sharma and Yashasvi Jaiswal took India to a commanding 135 for 1 at stumps. Thousands of saints, Nagas and monks from different sects have reached Pashupatinath Temple in Kathmandu Valley, Nepal to celebrate Mahashivratri. Pashupatinath is World Heritage Centre and considered very powerful site for tantric practice. Mahashivratri is celebrated as a day when Goddess Parvati married Shiv, celebrated with great pomp and show. Entire Pashupatinath temple is decorated with flowers, bunting, garlands and lights for Mahashivratri. And New York's Times Square welcomes Mahashivratri. The world is realizing the significance of the great night of Lord Shiva's divine energies as a celebration of enhancing human potential and an opportunity for transformation. It's fascinating to see how traditions and rituals can hold deep significance for personal growth as well. The great night of Lord Shiva provides a sacred space for individuals to reflect on their inner selves and seek spiritual evolution. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.